Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 9, Assessment for Learning. We're going to start with a little bit of assessment in ELA classrooms and then jump into the Maverick section, which will take us to the end of the course, and I'll explain what I'm talking about when I talk about Mavericks a little later on. First of all, just a bit of an overview about assessment for learning strategies. Oh, look, darn, that for some reason I don't think, let me see if I can fix it right now. Look at that, I can. Okay, so when assessment is seen as learning, for students as well as teachers, it becomes most informative and worthwhile for both alike. So again, I think we have to think about assessment in that way versus sort of this thing that is done to students, but it is actually a huge part of the actual learning. Then it becomes really worthwhile. Okay, I think this again is just a bit of an overview, a review, formative and summative assessment. You'll also see assessment for learning. So this is helping the students learn. This is what you will also do as the teacher in order to make sure that the students are actually learning what, again, you want them to learn. So it involves both teachers and students, and ongoing dialogue, description, feedback, and reflection. You collect some data. Are you getting deer in the headlight looks from your students? Then you have to, that's your formative assessment. And then some examples. You just question them, you listen, you observe, you make some summaries, and then you reflect. Summative, again, is an assessment of learning. So this whole sort of measurement idea. It involves determining the quality of the learning that has taken place at the end of a unit or theme, term, semester, or school year. And again, data audience, policymakers, program planners, supervisors, they kind of want to know what do students know and what don't they know, and then some examples. Again, I think this is pretty much a review of those terms, but want to just, of course, make sure that you are aware of those terms if you're not already. Okay, let's pull it tight into reading assessment. So we're looking specifically at reading comprehension, of course, is at the top of the pyramid. That's ultimately what we want to be assessing. Are our kids actually comprehending? Oral language is a big part. Reading comprehension strategies. Do they actually know do they know some strategies? Vocab. Hopefully these are not new terms. Phonemic awareness. Fluency. Text structure. So can they tell fiction from nonfiction? Fantasy from a biography, those kind of things. Concepts of print, these are our foundations, letter sounds, and then, of course, knowledge building. We want them to have some knowledge. Okay, so again, this is what you are going to base any assessment on, are these concepts in the ELA classroom for reading. For writing, you're going to, again, similar pyramid. This is from Balanced Literacy Diet that you saw in 371, as well as you keep seeing in 3103. It's just a really good site if, again, you believe in that balanced literacy philosophy, which hopefully you have an idea of where you stand on that. Again, written expression is at the top. Can you actually write some things and actually express your ideas so that what you are trying to get across, you can actually get across? Again, the whole concept of oral language. Can you take the oral language? Can you be efficient and coherent in oral language and then put that into written expression? Again, writing processes, conventions, those are your, can you use a capital and a period properly? Again, text structures, if you're writing a poem versus a paragraph, you know the difference. Again, all of the spelling, concepts of print, vocab, phonemic awareness, again, being able to know that there are letter sounds, and of course, knowledge building in here. So again, keep these pyramids in mind as you're thinking about assessment, because these are the core of what you are wanting to assess and ultimately what you want to teach the students. Okay, so here we go. I think, however, before we start to say, oh yes, I can assess a child's comprehension and I can assess a child's writing if they can actually express themselves, I'm going to take a step back and say, what should students be able to do at each grade within these pyramids? I think before we try to assess, we need to have a sense of what is grade level reading and writing? And I put a whole bunch of question marks here, because probably right now you're going, I actually don't know what a grade 3 student should be able to read and write. I don't know, I don't have a sense of an example. Well, lucky you, because that's what we're going to do today. A lot of today's lecture is actually going to be you guys going through examples and actually starting to assess, starting to figure out, is this child at a beginning developing level? Are they achieving, or are they at that exceeding a level in here? So basically when you start to think about where should a child be at as far as grade level, is woohoo, look what you have to start with: the Alberta Program of Studies and your year plan. I think you are getting a pretty good sense of what is in this particular document. And again, it is your core, it is your foundation of what should a grade 2 student be able to do. It's all listed there in the 94 outcomes of what a grade 2 student should actually do. So it's that Program of Studies absolutely is your core of your year plan, but it's also the core of how are you going to assess if they actually have learned what they're supposed to learn in grade 2 and grade 4 and grade 6. You can also, for reading, you can use Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment tool. And hang on, I'm just going to pick this up. So this is what it is. It's actually a box of tools and resources for you. There is a K-2 and there is a 3-8. These are actually in the curriculum library at MHC. Probably also in most schools there will be these kits. Again, these are just one way, right? It's not really a destination, but it's a benchmark. This is where I would consider using Fountas and Pinnell, is just to try to get a sense of where the child is at in their reading level, and then where should a child be at. This is a fairly, again, throwing back to, do we actually consider balanced literacy a great way to teach kids anymore? Because of course this series is based on balanced literacy. Those are professional decisions that you have to make. But as of right now, this is probably one of the sort of biggest, most well-known benchmark assessment tools right now. And then grade level writing exemplars. Again, you just have to look at some exemplars, and I'm going to have you do that a little later on, just so you kind of have a sense, where should a grade 2 student be at in their writing? Where should a grade 6 student be at in their writing? So this is basically what we're going to look at for assessment for this lecture. Okay, so you have probably seen this before. I showed it to you in 371. This is the guided reading. Remember, they wanted you to only use their leveled books in guided reading, not in everything else. It kind of became a monster. They didn't mean for it to become a monster and having kids being forced to only read leveled readers during every reading aspect. But these are the levels, the general levels that Fountas Pinnell have put out. And again, always corresponding, get my pencil again here, always corresponding these to this pyramid of what do we actually want the students to learn. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you sticky note I'm going to take off. I have sticky notes everywhere. Okay, so this is, I have to remember which way to go. This is a kindergarten level book. So this is called Socks. I'm going to just read a little bit of each one of these. So Socks, if I can actually get to it. Socks was sleeping on the bed. Wake up, Socks, I said. Socks was sleeping on my chair. I said, wake up, Socks. Beginning that there's lots of repetition. She was sleeping on the couch. Wake up, Socks, I said. Okay, so you're getting the idea? She was sleeping on the rug. I said, wake up, Socks. She was sleeping by the window. I said, Socks, wake up. Okay. Socks was sleeping by the door. Wake up, I said. And Socks was sleeping under the table. I can wake Socks up, I said. And then the cat wakes up. Okay, so that is the, oh, sorry, did I get out of the camera? Okay, so that is a level, that's a mid-level. This is a C book, so this is mid-level kindergarten. So halfway through the year, kindergarten should be able to read, that. Okay, this is a G-level book, which is about halfway through grade 1. So I'll just read a little bit of this one to you. So look at all the bubbles. Some of the bubbles are big and some of them are little. All these bubbles are made with soap and water. They are called soap bubbles. Soap bubbles are pretty. They are very shiny. They have lots of colors, just like a rainbow. Okay, so again, some repetition. The pictures are supporting the text, and but the child will know the context of the book. So this is a grade, where am I here? This is a grade 1 level, mid-level reader. Okay, I'm actually going to just move slightly over so that I'm not in my lamp on the side. Okay, so this is a grade 2. This is an L level reader. So this is called Ernie Learns. So now you can actually start to see that's starting to, there are no more pictures for context. It's full on print, and it, you're starting to get quotations here, and I'll just read a little bit. Brett patted his puppy on the head saying, "Today's the big day, Ernie. Today you're going to learn how to be a good dog." Ernie gave a happy bark. Okay, so this is mid-level grade 2. Where am I here? So look at this now. So if you're in grade 2, this is where they should be reading by March, April, somewhere in there. This is O level. So this is mid-grade 3. Again, this is called The New Girl. And again, you're noticing that there are no more pictures. So, when you talk about using pictures as context clues, this is grade 3. There are no more pictures. No more pictures to look at. I finally made some friends here, and now we have to move again? It's so unfair, Nora complained to her father. We've been over this, Nora, her father said. You should be proud of your mother. As an Army officer, she has to go where she's needed. It's the same for the other Army kids you know. So again, this is grade 3 level. This is R level. So this is mid-grade 4. Again, fishing smarts. Again, there's one little picture, but now starting to get into a little bit longer. And this is definitely more of a content book. If you've ever seen someone fishing, you might have thought it looked like fun and effortless. But like many things, fishing is more complicated than it appears. Okay, so if you are in grade 4, this is the level, again, that your students should be reading at about midway through the year. Okay, grade 5. This is a U level book, Canyon Mystery. So starting to get into slightly different genre. Again, starting smaller print, chapters now. There's a chapter 1, One Morning in the Desert. It's early morning in the Southwest Desert. As the sun arises in a cloudless sky above Red River Valley, it casts a muted glow on the hills below. So vocab is definitely going up. Oops, nothing on that page. Okay, so again, starting to get quite a bit more in depth in here. Okay, and again, mid-grade 6. This is X. This is an X book, A Weighty Decision. So again, look at the size of the print, no pictures, and again, it's about Brody grappled with his opponent, a pyramid-shaped mound of clothing on his bed. One by one, he donned every item of apparel in the pile. 2 pairs of socks, shorts, 1 pair of snug sweatpants, and 1 baggy pair, 2 long-sleeve tees, a beefy sweatshirt, a ski mask, and a variety wrestling hoodie. Okay, so again, vocab is going up. Text definitely is getting harder and more complicated, and all of those comprehension skills are having to be brought in at this level. Okay, so again, hopefully that gave you a little bit of an idea of what, get rid of that sticky note, of what where your students should be at grade level. So if you're teaching grade 6 and you're like, there's no way my kids can read at that level at grade 6, they're more at a grade 3 or 4 level, then you know what you have to go back and get, especially around probably vocab, maybe even back to phonemic awareness, definitely comprehension skills. Okay, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of an idea there. So now it's going to be your turn. Oh, yes. Oh, I know. Sorry, got ahead of myself there. What I want you to do now is writing examples. I actually want you to, it's not quite your turn yet. What I want you to actually do is, I thought it was probably good if you actually saw some writing examples from your grade. So what I want you to do is, you're welcome to look at all the grades, but look specifically at your grade and have a little bit of, again, thinking about your practicum students, you maybe have seen some of their writing examples. Start to compare what is going on. So these examples that I've given you are sort of, I would say, achieving and up. The K123 on Reading Rocket site, actually, there's a whole bunch of little like pop-ups. So if you hit the little red square, it'll actually say child is understanding phonemic awareness, or child is not comprehending. And so it's actually, these are really quite interesting interactive written examples. Grade 3 and grade 6, these are the Alberta Education PAT written examples, and it is actually 23 to 42. There's lots of kid written examples, so don't panic. And then it actually says this is a satisfactory, this is a proficient, this is an excellent. So it gives you a good sense of what's happening. Grade 4 and 5 are actually examples that I have gotten from teachers here in Medicine Hat. They're all proficient and excellent if you're grading them on the PAT scale. Unfortunately, they wouldn't send me any of their poor or satisfactory, which is kind of interesting, because I guess they don't want to, they want to make it look like their students are all being proficient and excellent. So the ones that are listed on Blackboard under Lesson 9 are actually all proficient and excellent, so that you know what's going on in there. So again, stop me for a while, spend like 10, 15, 20 minutes. I've allotted about 20 minutes of this lecture time for you to actually go and look at these examples for your grade levels. Again, you're welcome to look at all of them, but for sure look at your particular grade levels so that you have a sense of where your grade 2s, your grade 4s, your grade 6s actually should be at in their writing. Okay, hopefully it's about 15-20 minutes later, now that you're clicking back up with me. So let's look a little bit at reading and writing formative and summative assessment. So when we start to talk about specifically how do I figure out where my students are at, let's have a little bit of a go in some practical ideas. So basically, daily routine is you should hear your students read what they write on a daily basis. So this could be done through calendar time, it could be done through Writer's Workshop, but try to hear them read and read what they've written every single day. This can be just as you're walking around, you look over the kid's shoulder and you're like, that's amazing writing. Remember we talked about descriptive words? Could you add another descriptive word? I'm going to come back around. So it doesn't have to take a big long time in there. Run reading and writing conferences. We talked about this when we talked about Daily 5 and Writer's Workshop and things like that. These are really important, so that 1-on-2 or 3 time or 1-on-1 time, that's where kids are really going to improve their reading and writing, which of course we know is crucial to everything that they do in school. Okay, so basically sitting right next to the student and asking questions is the best way to assess basically all aspects of students' reading. So you can figure out if they're comprehending, their fluency, their vocab, all those sorts of things. And then ultimately that's where you can actually move the student forward. Okay, so let's look at these points. Observe the child as he or she reads and writes. Just say, I'm going to watch you write so I can help you become a better writer. And if you do that a lot, it won't be weird. The students will write, and then you'll actually see either where they're really grasping the concept that you introduced or they're not. And then you can get it right away without having to waste a ton of time. The next bullet point, need to see what is produced and how it is produced. Okay, so you need to see what they're actually writing, and then you need to figure out their thought process of what they're actually writing. And I think that's the key that sometimes we forget. We just look at the product, but we don't look at how did they actually get there, which is, of course, that's what you need to get after. Okay, and specific strategies. So let's talk about a reading conference. So when you're actually sitting one-on-one with a child, what do you do? So you say to them things like this: bring me a book that you can read pretty well. Okay, because then you'll get a sense of their understanding. Ask them, why did you choose that book? What is the reading level of this book for you? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it, we could have done it 3 years ago. Tell me what the book is about so far. Read this part of the book to me. Tell me what you remember about what you just read. Let's discuss your strengths and what you need to work on. And how long do you think it will take you to complete this book? So those are some questions just to kind of get you going in a reading conference. If you're doing a writing conference, maybe you ask them, what are you doing right now as a writer? So have them use the proper lingo. So they should be incorporating, say, I need to incorporate more descriptive words. I need to expand my character. I need to work on including more emotional engagement from my reader. Use these terms and make them use the terms. Don't let them go, yeah, it's good. That's not going to actually help them think like a writer and then ultimately become a good writer. Okay, decide what to teach in the conference. In that moment, you need to guide the student in the way that they need guiding. So if they need work on engaging the reader, then you work on that. You don't work on vocab, you don't work on quotation marks. You go with the student with what they need in there. It's okay, what else? Sorry. Don't talk the whole time in the conference. Let the child talk, because what'll happen is you'll figure out what's going on in the brain, and then you'll figure out, oh, this is where this child needs to go, and this is where I need to help support them. And try to connect their writing concept to literature. So ask them what they liked, maybe about a writing style of their favorite book or something that they're reading, and then ask them how could they incorporate that concept into their own writing. So say they're reading Duck, Duck, Goose and they really like humor in Duck, Duck, Goose. It's like, okay, how could you actually include some humor in your writing if that's what they're interested in? Okay, so again, those are some specific questions, some specific strategies when you're doing reading or writing conferences. Let's go on to number 3. Encourage the student to read and write a lot. Kids will only learn to read and write when they actually read and write. So you want to be including lots of time for them to actually read real books, not excerpts of books, not little bits of books, not these kind of books all the time, because these are for a specific purpose of analyzing reading, not necessarily for improving reading. Okay? And they need to just write a lot. Again, put pen to paper, get them to write as many stories, many ideas, and then bring in that whole idea of revision. Okay? Talk about surface features of the writing and the content of the message of what it is. So surface features are those things like handwriting, spelling, punctuation. So that's the surface. The content is the message of what is written. So don't always I think oftentimes we get caught in the surface. Oh, you spelled this wrong. You don't have a capital, you know, that kind of thing. But you got to go after the content. What's the message of the writing? So make sure that you're balancing both. And finally, I think you're getting this, is no one way to evaluate children's reading and writing. There's no one way. There's no perfect system. You have to kind of go at it from a differentiated point of view for some students in there. Okay. So let's move on to looking at specifically, this I took from Medicine Hat. I actually took it from Southview School, from their handbook. And these are your achievement indicators. If you stay and teach in Medicine Hat, this is actually how you will be grading and reporting children's evaluations or assessments to the school and to the parents. So we have here, and I think this is interesting. If your child receives an M for meeting, he or she has achieved the grade level outcome to an acceptable standard. So if you give a lot of M's, they're actually achieving the standard of the grade. Okay, if your child receives an E for excelling, this demonstrates a deeper level of mastery. Okay, and then you have approaching here, which supports may be necessary to further learning, and beginning, additional planning and instructional supports will be necessary for further learning. Okay, so those will be your the way that you actually ultimately report the child's learning officially to the school and ultimately to your district. So keep that. I actually thought this was an excellent, really summary of it, and I think it'll really help you when you get out there and you see EMAB. You'll hear teachers talk about EMAB. This is what they're referring to. EMAB. Here we go. So now it's time. I got ahead of myself. Now it's time for you to start to think about how you will assess students. So using beginning, developing, meeting, and exceeding, or I should have put excelling, meeting, approaching, beginning. Sorry, use these terms. I should change that. Actually, I could just change that right now. So use the EMAB terms. I want you to assess grade level student reading level on. I want you to think about phonemic awareness, vocab. Can they pronounce new words? Can they understand? Can they comprehend? Are they fluent in oral language? Can they discuss reading in an organized and coherent manner? Okay, so I want you to think about these things as you are listening to these reading examples. So a lot of these are running records. It's a recording of teachers doing running records. And so look at what they're doing on their running record and think about where would you put this child if you were the teacher. Where would you put this child on this scale, on the EMAP scale? Are they meeting grade level outcomes? Are they approaching? Are they really not? Or are they excelling? Okay, so that's what I want. But keep these concepts in mind because, of course, these are the main concepts for our ELA. So think about, do they have some decoding skills? Can they actually pronounce new words? Are they comprehending the story? So listen right to the end of the videos because what it is it will the teacher will ask comprehension questions. Are they fluent for their age? Okay, kind of thing in there. Okay, here we go. Gotta get rid of my pencil. So that's what I want you to do with these reading examples. Of course, you can look at other grades, but look specifically at your grade for sure, so that you know when you go into your practicum, oh, this is kind of where kids should be at for this particular for reading. Okay. Also, I want you to do assessing writing level. So again, sorry, I should have put the EMAB ones here. I'll edit that for next time. Is use again these indicators and look at beginning or writing level for your particular grade. Base your assessment on content. So when they're writing, is there a relationship in the writing between events and actions? Look at the organization. Do they have an intro, body, conclusion? Look at sentence structure. Are all their sentences the same? And do they have lots of description? Vocab. Look at varying words. Do they just use fine all the time? And conventions. Again, here you go. Punctuation, grammar, and spelling. So have a little bit of a go with that, with these particular writing examples. So again, these are the writing examples for K 1, 2, and 3. So again, I want you to have a little bit of an idea of what's going on there. Grade 3, again, look at these and start to think about how you would assess for your particular grade. And grade 3 and grade 6, these are the PAT ones again. So you kind of know where those ones are at, but I want you to think about why was this particular grade 3 example satisfactory and not proficient and not excellent in there. Okay, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, back onto here. If you yourself are weak, whoa, that was fun, are weak in grammatical skills. What is happening? Okay, here we go. Now I got it. In I don't know what's going on. Don't know why I can't use my pencil. In grammatical skills, how about I just do this? In grammatical skills, be sure to look at I gave you what every teacher knows and needs to know about grammar. It was one of your readings. Okay, so just have a bit of a look at that. If you are going yourself, I don't know how to use a semicolon. Have a look there, because you need to know how to do that. Okay. Just going to make sure that I haven't missed anything here. So you're doing that. Okay. So again, I've allotted a fair bit of time of this lecture for you to do this. So have a bit of a go, like spend 15, 20 minutes again, figuring out the writing level for your particular grade. Okay. These ones I'm going to leave with you as resources. I really like Natalie Regier's. This is part of your reading for this week. So if you haven't read if you haven't looked at the links that I sent you in the reading list, this is just a different way to get there. But this one also will give you book 1, 2, and 3 access. So if you can go either way, through the reading list or through this particular link. Again, she has some really practical lists of pre-assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment strategies. So I definitely would have a look through these. These are not necessarily just ELA assessment strategies, but they're definitely ones that you can use across any curricular subject. Again, I would suggest that you have a little bit of a look at this rubric site. You should not be creating rubrics. You should not be drawing them out. There are rubric sites, so have a little bit of a go with this one. You don't have to fill in all the information section. You don't have to fill in your name. You can just go to, actually, let's see if I can get there. Actually, if you go to, I'll just tell you, if you go to reading and then analyzing information and then skip all the way, don't fill in any information, go to the bottom where you can choose ideas for rubrics. It actually works quite well. Actually, here we go. Let me see if I can just do this because it might make more sense. I'm going to copy this. Hang on here. Okay, so let me just pull this in. So you don't have to fill all this in. Don't do that. So if you go down to here to reading, and then you can go to reading, analyzing information here, skip all this, then this is the section that's kind of cool. So here you go. So if you want to do some kind of reading analysis and you want to do identifies that the student identifies important information, boom, you can do that, and it gives you students list all the main points of the article without having the article in front of them, yada, yada, yada. So here, if you want to do identifies facts, students accurately locates at least facts. Okay, so you can edit these too if you don't like what they've given you, but at least it gives you an idea of what kind of relates graphics to text. It gives you a little bit of a go at, okay, so what does an actual, how do I actually create a rubric? So again, this is something, so if your partner teacher in your practicum says, will you create a rubric? You say, yes, I will create a rubric. And then you go to rubrics, a rubric site like this, and you have a bit of a go. Okay. Yes, that's it for assessment. Hopefully that gives you a good sense of particularly where your kids are at. Now, we're going to jump into the Maverick section. Basically, this idea of Mavericks came from, I visited the Glenbow Museum, and they had a exhibition called Mavericks in Alberta History. And it was all of these unorthodox, independent-minded people from Alberta history that actually really changed the direction that Alberta went in. And I was there and I'm like, oh, this is an amazing topic, concept, idea for a unit that I could teach. And so it's perfect for this year. I also, because of COVID, had a little bit of not extra time, but I had time in in May and June to really kind of dive into some of these concepts that I just normally didn't have time for. And so these are exciting new concepts that I am introducing to you and that you will be working through yourself. So basically, a maverick is an unorthodox or independent-minded person. It is someone who can shape history with their ingenuity, ambition, and adventurous spirit. And a maverick is a unique, inspired, determined, risk-taker, forward-looking, creative, and eager for change character. So I want you to think about yourself as being a maverick, and I want you to introduce maverick pedagogies to your students. So that's sort of the impetus for this. So when you sign your course outline, Mavericks, what is that? That's what it is. Okay, so basically now what I'm going to do is you are going to, in Collaborate time, these are your websites for your reading for this week. So these are not extra readings. They're not extra readings. Okay. What you're going to do is we're going to jigsaw into expert groups in our Collaborate time. So you are going, I have it listed which one you're going to focus on. Of course, I hope that you will look at all of them because they're on your reading list. But these are, I think they're kind of maverick ideas: project-based lesson creation, puppetry, makerspace, and literary food truck. So what you are going to do, again, is in your Maverick. Oh, actually, we might meet on Google Meet. I'll send information out, so don't panic. I'll send it out in an announcement if we're going to meet on Google Meet or on Collaborate. I'm leaning toward Google Meet. It's just easier to navigate, but I will let you know. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to introduce your expert area to your group. Please be ready to share some links and resources. So click on the links in the article or do a bit of research on your own topic. Not a ton, but do click on some of those links that are in the articles. I want you to share insight into how to use this in an ELA classroom, and I want you to talk about, share why it would be engaging, do you think, in an elementary classroom in ELA specifically. And I want you to take, when you do your little presentation, about 5 to 7 minutes a person, and just be ready to be the expert and to jigsaw your particular topic. Okay, so this is your topic. So, and this is your group number. So yes, we will be meeting in Google Meets. So you need to know this number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And then this is your topic. So Kellen, you're going to do project-based lesson creation, Mallory, puppetry, Tabitha, makerspace, Abby, literary food truck. Okay. So this is your topic for your expert to be an expert in and to share during our Collaborate Monday time. Okay, hope you enjoy these. I think you'll kind of get the sense of these are new, exciting, engaging, sort of 21st century ways of teaching. And I hope you can share with your colleagues some of the finer points of how this would really support ELA learning and ultimately ELA assessment. All right, that is it. Enjoy.